Some political news earlier tonight. Former President Trump held a campaign rally on Long Island in front of 16,000 people at Nassau Coliseum. Yeah. Tonight, the rest of the country found out New York is a lot more Florida than you think.
And that disturbed them. Good news is nobody shot at him, though. There were no arrests of would-be assassins, which I don't think they've turned the page. But, in fact, I have some poll numbers that are among the most disturbing poll numbers I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've been looking at poll numbers for a long time. Happy Thursday and welcome. Yeah, truly amazing stuff. The number of Democrats, in particular Democrat males, men, adult males. What is a man, Michael? What is a man? It's an adult male human. What's a woman? It's an adult female human, and a lot of Democrats can't answer those questions. They went to Democrat-run public schools. So most of what they know, it's not that they don't know anything, it's just so much of what they know is wrong, to paraphrase the great Ronald Reagan. Yeah, but the numbers on the number, here's the headline. 17% of America, all right, say 17%, say that America would be better off if Trump had been killed. Now, that's a pretty astonishing number, 17%. But forget about that overall number. That's like a national poll on a presidential race. Doesn't tell the story. The number of Democrats that say that America would be better off if Trump had been killed, and they're not done yet, is pretty astonishing. And then you look at Democrat males, I hesitate to call them men, and in particular young men, and the numbers are quite astonishing. And it dovetails nicely with another poll that is now a couple of years old. That's quite extraordinary, too. I've got to say, the Democrats are a bloodthirsty bunch. They love death more than we love life. Really, get an abortion today. If you're a Democrat, please take a little time today to get an abortion of some kind. But the Southern Poverty Law Center, they came out with a poll a couple of years ago, partisanship and violence. And the numbers are disturbing, to say the least. Gosh, holy cow. More than half of young Democrat men, if that's what the poll says, males, whatever they may be, they have some very, very disturbing beliefs and wishes, not on the side of civilization, because the left is here, and they've been indoctrinating generation after generation, so it should really come as no surprise what we're witnessing in our American political life. I was taking a couple of notes to myself today. I was at home, as you might be, before the sun comes up, if you're not a Bill Clinton or a Democrat or something. And I was thinking about the Democrats and their asymmetric civil war. They're operating kind of an asymmetric civil war. An assassin shows up at Brett Kavanaugh's house, mob violence all over the place. A Bernie Sanders volunteer shoots Steve Scalise and tries to massacre an entire baseball field of Republican members of Congress. They shoot at Trump once, have another man with a rifle in the bushes. They spent a lot of time in the bushes, too, those guys. Hey, shaking it here, boss, shaking it. And, Cool Hand Luke reference. And amazing stuff. So I've got some poll numbers that I find very, very disturbing, and I think you will find them disturbing, too. In fact, I heard these poll numbers. I was driving yesterday. I have my second job with Newsmax, and I was driving yesterday coming up on dinner time listening to the great Vince Coglianese show on WMAL, the mothership in Washington, D.C., and what a great show that is. And he was doing a segment on a lot of things, but in there we found these poll numbers. Vince found these poll numbers that are just, wow. I was saying wow out loud to myself in the car when I was driving. And so I want to share them with you because they're a little bit breathtaking. They ought to be breathtaking. Speaking of mad, bloodthirsty killers, Iran is very much on a tear, aren't they? And let's talk about election interference. You think sending? Oh, wait a minute! I got to get to this too, because at a Trump rally a couple of days ago, after the rally, about 20 people ended up in the emergency room because they Their eyes were scorched and puffy, and they couldn't. And it's a Latino group. They're Latino and Latina. You know, the Democrats want to make it Latinx. You have a box of Latinx on your counter over there, but that's Joe Biden. But a significant number, a busload of regular Americans at a Trump rally sitting behind Trump, apparently some kind of a chemical irritant, and it's a peculiar story that's not getting any attention. I want to share it with you. I had to go find it 3 different times today because I said, no, that can't be right, and I went and found it 3 different times, and now I'm convinced it's right. But let's get back to Iran because, I mean, what's the difference? Who's worse, Iran or the Democrat Party? Let's toss a coin for now, and we'll get back to that. But let's talk about election interference because Iran hacked into the Trump campaign computers, and they stole a bunch of stuff because they're jihadis, and they're not on the good guys' side. They're the bad guys. And they hacked into the Trump campaign computers, and they shared what they stole with the Biden kid because it's a criminal regime that murders everyone, really, at least eventually. They're like the left, but not as good at it, I think, as the left is at murdering people. They're working on it, though. And they're working on nuclear weapons with the help of Barack Hussein Obama and with the help of Joe Biden and the Democrats. They're working toward ballistic missiles with nuclear weapons atop with their death to America, death to Israel nose cones. But they hacked into the Trump campaign computers. They shared what they stole with the Biden campaign. They, truthful as they are, they've assured us that they didn't even look at them. And that's how you know they're lying, because their pants are on fire, too. There's been another self-immolation? No, not yet, but it's early. It's early. Now, they hacked into the Trump campaign computers. They shared what they stole with the Biden campaign and with a number of media organizations, major newspapers. Iran is feeding major newspapers what they stole online by way of hacking from the Trump campaign. And the news media, they haven't said that they haven't used this stuff. That's not something that they've said yet, and you couldn't believe them any more than you believe the Biden campaign anyway, because they're in bed together in a sleeping bag, a lubricated sleep, and they're wrestling about like pigs in a blanket. But amazing stuff. So we got that story. Also, you know that, what was it, day before yesterday, the Pakistani man that Iran sent to the United States to murder Trump, he appeared in court, I believe, day before yesterday. And he's a Pakistani man, but he had been in Iran for weeks, and then Iran dispatched from the United States to hatch a plot to assassinate President Trump, because that's what the Ayatollahs do out of Iran. I really much prefer the Shah. I miss the Shah's family, don't you? The Pahlavi family. I think young Reza Pahlavi should be put back in power. That's just my thinking. That's just my opinion. But he's pretty much an American at this point, young Reza Pahlavi. But never mind that, the son of the Shah, who was Reza Pahlavi Sr., but never mind that. So the Pakistani man that they sent to the United States was arrested, and he was in court a couple of days ago. Now we learned today that Iran sent a man to assassinate Netanyahu in Israel, because I'm beginning to think these Iranians are not the good guys. What are you thinking? Michael, you have an opinion on this? That's so they sent somebody to assassinate Netanyahu. They sent somebody to assassinate Trump. They're hacking into the Trump campaign. They say they hacked into the Biden campaign emails too, but Biden didn't have a campaign, and Kamala doesn't have a campaign either. It's like, their campaign is, and I even heard somebody else say this too, their campaign is like the television show Seinfeld. It's about nothing. What's it about? What's Seinfeld about? It's about nothing. That's what. What's the Kamala Harris campaign about? It's about nothing. The media does it for them. It's really good to be a Democrat, because the fluffers, the rented mules that we call the news media, they do everything for the Democrats, and they do everything against the Republicans. So Iran is keeping real busy. Now, this is election interference by Iran. It's also election interference by the Biden campaign if they don't immediately report this stuff. And then, of course, there are the major newspapers that had the hacked data fed to them by Iran, and they don't report on it. They just on the hacking and feeding it to the media. They just take what was given to them and attack Trump with it because they're in bed with Iran and each other and a donkey. But that's another thing. So we got that. Iran is also, of course, behind the war against Israel. They're the backers, the sponsors, financial and in terms of weapons and intelligence and in many cases manpower and so on. They're backing Hezbollah in Lebanon, raining thousands of missiles and rockets down on Israel on an ongoing basis in an effort to kill their children so that Israel will respond. And as I said yesterday, for the people of Lebanon, I think it's probably a bad idea to pick a fight like this with a small group of people that have won more Nobel Prizes than any group of people on the face of the earth, because they're going to outsmart you. They're going to, you live in Lebanon, Beirut, which has on and off been, a jewel of the Mediterranean, but right now it's off. It's not on because the troglodytes are in charge there. But Israel, I think, is going to outsmart you boys. I think they're. And yesterday, it was very funny because this jihadi in Iran who was born in Richmond, Virginia, and lived there till he was 13, and then he moved to Iran to become a jihadi with his father, who was a college professor in the United States. More things change and all that. Amazing stuff. But he warned that people in Lebanon shouldn't buy their electronic devices if they're made in Japan or Korea or the U.S. or Canada or Western Europe. And he went on this list, long list, and left out China because none of the things that blew up their pagers were made in China, he thought. And then their cell phones started blowing up. And he's like, damn, now I got to, extend my, you're not going to be able to buy electronic devices made anywhere except electronic devices made in Lebanon. The problem is the only electronic devices they make in Lebanon are detonators. That's all they make. They make detonators because they, blow stuff up. And a lot of grown men in Lebanon with no hands. It's always a telltale sign that they're bomb makers on the side because they blow their own hands off. But Iran is backing the war against Israel. They're backing Hezbollah. They're backing Hamas. They're backing the Houthis in Yemen. But fear not, because Joe Biden is funneling billions and billions to Iran, while slamming and smearing and undermining Israel. In fact, when Israel was apparently engaged in this operation to make the pagers blow up in the pockets of all the Hamas rank and file by the thousands, which is hilarious and will make a great movie, but they'll make the good guys into the bad guys in the Hollywood version. Amazing stuff. When they did this, the Israelis didn't tell the United States about it, according to Antony Blinken and their one State Department spokesman. They say that Israel didn't tell them anything about it because Israel knows better than to trust the Democrats. Barack Obama sent a team of people over to Israel, campaign people with lots of money, to defeat Netanyahu when Obama was president, because they hate the Jews. I mean, honestly, if you're one of the Jews and you're voting Democrat, you're stupid. That's just stupid. It is stupid. And then, of course, Iran kills and tortures and jails their own people in record numbers. And I think a lot of this stuff might represent election interference. What do you think? I think election interference. And where are the sanctions on Iran? Joe Biden lifted sanctions that had been imposed on Iran by Donald Trump, who wanted to, not give them the financial wherewithal and billions of dollars to wage war against civilization. But no sanctions imposed on Iran by Barack Hussein Obama. You got to throw the Hussein in because it's Iran. And no, not only were there no sanctions imposed by Obama, but he gave them everything in terms of money and gas prices and oil prices and everything else. Joe Biden did the same thing. I'm beginning to think they're not on our side. Isn't that amazing? Also, lots of great stuff. You see, the Teamsters, for the first time since 1996, did not endorse the Democrat candidate for president because, Kamala. And there's more to say about that, too. The rank and file of the Teamsters, they took a poll of members of the Teamsters, the people that pay the dues, and overwhelmingly they support Trump. So the Teamsters couldn't support anybody because they're run by commies, by filthy commies. And this one guy, he got a really Irish name, looks like a drunk. Doesn't he look like a drunk? Acts like a drunk. at the Teamsters, and I've got that coming up. A video came out. Somebody wrote a song about Donald Trump being a fighter, and it's fun. We'll share it with you because that's good stuff. But when you hear these poll numbers on how many Democrats, especially Democrat young men, think that their political enemies, that is to say Donald Trump and other Republicans, should be shot and killed, the numbers are quite extraordinary. And it's not, it's a real poll. What do you see this? Man, oh man, oh man. Yes, sir. So we got out a lot more than that. Yeah, and 20 supporters of Donald Trump seated behind him rushed to the emergency room with blurred vision and burning eyes after the rally in Tucson. That's coming up as well. We're at 888-630-9625. All right, let us go to the telephones. I'm beginning to think the Democrats don't make good neighbors like they maybe used to. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Chris, calling from Marshall, Virginia. Christopher, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
As always, coming to you from the front line of the heartland, my friend. Listen, this sounds vaguely familiar. Wasn't John Paul McIsaac pilloried and vilified by the left for trying to promote hacked material from Hunter Biden's laptop?
You're talking about the Iranians hacking into the Trump campaign computers and then distributing what they stole to the news media and the Democrat Party, but I repeat myself, the Biden campaign. Listen.
Make it make sense, sir. Yes.
Well, it's pretty simple.
One other point. I understand that we've gone after the pagers and the walkie-talkies. Maybe tomorrow we're going to go after all of the carrier pigeons, and then perhaps Monday we're going to target all of the campfires that they're resorting to using smoke signals with.
You're going to be banging sticks on rocks to communicate with one another.
They already are. It's kind of like we blew them into the Stone Age.
I've always used that. Got to blast like Afghanistan. Got to blast them forward to the 18th century. It's amazing. Now, didn't they complain that this was hacked? It never was hacked. The Hunter Biden laptop was left at the computer repair store in Delaware. He signed an agreement saying if I'm not back in 90 days, it reverts to you. It's your property. He didn't show up for way more than 90 days because he's a crackhead. And so the property reverted to the store owner. He looked at it. Yeah, but yeah, they let. And the bottom line, were it not for double standards, Chris. Yeah, kind of a fun story about Democrat Party corruption, unsurprisingly, and about union bosses, chieftains, the rich, corrupt union gangsters, and the Teamsters. Now, I'm not like an anti-union person. I think unions have a place, but when the leadership becomes corrupt, which has very often been the case for a very long time, going back to the mafia gangsters, the controlling the unions, see on the waterfront and beyond. But it's gotten much more sophisticated than that, and the money has gotten much bigger. And the union leadership and the Democrat Party, naturally, in a sleeping bag writhing around with each other because there's a lot of cash there. And the lefties, they take over the Rockefeller Foundation, and you have William Ayers and Barack Obama taking over rich people foundations so they can, it's the old Lenin, I believe it was the Lenin line, the capitalist will sell you the rope with which to hang them. So the left has seized the sources of money, the foundations and the unions, because you have 1.5 million people paying monthly dues, and these gangsters take over and they buy political power, and they're corrupt. And so they take over institutions with a lot of money. The unions, the Teamsters union in particular, they took a poll. They took a poll of their own people, and it's kind of amazing. It didn't turn out the way that they had expected. And the overwhelming majority at least the vast majority of the membership of the Teamsters, they support Trump. Teamsters research poll, Trump 58% support by the Teamsters, Harris 31%. 31%. So nearly double the support, nearly, not quite, for Trump over Kamala Harris. And the Democrats are in a panic about that. Now, the Teamsters Union has endorsed every Democrat going back to 1992. The last time they endorsed a Republican was 1988. That is in the last century, and decades backward into the last century, it was George H.W. Bush, 1988. Then since then, they backed, they backed Bill Clinton, and they backed Al Gore, and they backed John Kerry, and they backed Barack Obama. Then they backed Barack Obama again. Then they backed Hillary Clinton. What a loser. And then they backed Joe Biden. And this time around, they're not going to back anybody, which is as corrupt as the day is long, because if you have a history of supporting, declaring your endorsement for, just amazing, because the Democrats, they're not on our side. They're not good people. Teamsters Union declines to endorse in presidential election, breaking decades of precedent. The NBC fake news people typed up on behalf of their party, the Democrat Party. The decision comes just 2 days after the union's leaders met with Vice President Kamala Harris and months after they met with former President Donald Trump. Now, it's kind of an interesting story for a number of reasons. And keep in mind, it's always about power and money. And the unions have been taken over long ago by corrupt lefties who get rich while abusing the power that they have. Give a lefty a thimbleful of power, they'll abuse it before the sun goes down. The Teamsters on Wednesday declined to endorse a candidate for president, the first time in decades that the union hasn't backed a candidate in the presidential election. And Sean O'Brien, sounds like he drinks, doesn't he? Sounds like a drinker. Neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union. Got to make serious commitments like you're dating to the union to ensure the interests of working people. Donald Trump did everything to ensure the interests of working people. The Democrats are here to take everything you have, starting with your rights, and then they'll get to your money. Just amazing stuff. So the unions and left-wing radicals, Mediaite, Teamsters declined to endorse Harris or Trump, as member poll shows majority backs Trump. A very serious majority backs Trump. And again, the 58-31. But the union says, we don't care. We don't care what our members say. Don't you know that? If you didn't know that already, now you should know that the Teamsters senior leadership doesn't give a flying hoot what nearly 60% of their membership thinks, what nearly 60% of their membership says. They poll them. But if the poll numbers don't come out the way they want, then they play this game, right? They play this bourgeois game, because that's what corruption is all about. And the left is nothing if not corrupt. All right, let's grab another phone call. I see a union call on the line. Let's go to Ted, calling from Montgomery County, Maryland. Theodore, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, Ted.
Yes, I thought you mentioned the unions. I know my friend, and he talks to his buddies. They're all union, and they are fed up with Joe Biden. They realize that the more cheap labor he brings into the country, the more it holds down the wages of everyone, almost everyone. And I feel like he's importing terrorists, child rape, fentanyl, heroin, and he's got American blood on his hands. His vaccine mandates are anti-science, but consistent with a tyrant making money for the big pharma who bought his campaign. And,
well, their gender issues are anti-science as well. Girls will be boys, yes, and boys will be girls. Their theme song is Lola. And, you're absolutely right, of course, Ted. And So your union friends, you don't have to say what union. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but you're talking to your buddy, and he says that everybody that he works with in a union shop, they're all going Trump.
Yes, they are very strongly Trump supporters, fed up with just the lunacy, and the fact that Joe Biden spent $7 trillion or more last year with interest. I figure that's at least $20 trillion, and he's destroyed the dollar. Every week the groceries cost more. $300 buys nothing in gas and groceries nowadays. People are hurting bad, and he makes good wages, but it only goes so far these days.
That is a fact. Now, since you brought it up, and you brought up the illegal aliens and the open border, and we'll set aside the gangs and the murders and the drug trafficking and the fatal drug overdoses and the addictions and fentanyl and the Chinese and the cartels. The Democrat Party is probably the most dangerous cartel on the planet right now. Look what they're doing to the United States. And if they can take down the United States, as the commies and the left have been trying to do for generations now, and their last best hope is right now with the current Democrat Party. Joe Biden doesn't even know what year it is. But since you mentioned it, Ted, Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, came out yesterday to lower interest rates by 0.5 point, and everybody's very excited about it, and it looks very political. It's been a very, very long time since the Fed lowered interest rates by 0.5 point, and there's an election coming up, and the Democrats need a lot of help because Kamala is brain dead, and Joe Biden is just dead. But where is Joe Biden anyway? Is he? I don't think he's being president wherever he is. But here's Jerome Powell, just for you, Ted, because when you said what you said, I was reminded, oh, yeah, Jerome Powell said something just like what Ted is talking about yesterday. Here's the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell.
If you're having millions of people come into the labor force and you're creating 100,000 jobs, you're going to see unemployment go up. We understand there's been quite an influx across the borders, and that has actually been one of the things that's allowed unemployment rate to rise. And the other thing is just the slower hiring rate, which is something we also watch carefully.
And then the wages going down, of course. And then we haven't even gotten to the gangs. And what do we call it now? TDA. We call it TDA. Tren de Agua, because the Democrats have brought so many gang members in from Venezuela that we now have a shorthand language for them. And they're creating absolute anarchy and chaos. In fact, yesterday on Capitol Hill, there was a hearing, the House, not the Senate, because the Democrats don't care about human life. They care about the organ harvest and about funding Planned Parenthood, where they exterminate 40% of the black population. But on Capitol Hill yesterday, they had family members of people that have been massacred by Tren de Aragua and by other gang members and illegal aliens and so on. And there are many of them. But yesterday, Patty Morin, whose daughter Rachel Morin, in Maryland, went out for a walk, a mother of 5, and was grabbed by an illegal alien led into the country by Kamala, our border czar, and Joe Biden, who's brain dead and MIA, and raped and murdered this mother of 5 along a walking trail, a hiking trail in Maryland, in a beautiful area of Maryland, which is now too dangerous to walk around because of the filthy South American gang members that the Biden-Harris administration invited into the country and distributed around the country. And the mother of Rachel Morin, her name is Patty Morin, she testified on Capitol Hill yesterday.
They say that the borders are safe. We live 1,800 miles away from the southern border. They're not safe. If you have a sanctuary city in your state, you're not safe. You folks are just going to continue with your partisan politics and not really take to heart the lives of the American people that put you in office to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, isn't it? Yes, it is. Just amazing. Extraordinary. Now, and what are the Democrats doing in the meantime? Well, Kamala was out there yesterday, and, there's all this lip service that they're providing to dialing down the rhetoric and turning down the heat, and then they immediately turn around like the fascists that they are and dial it up to 14, and the heat blows the place up. How many people have to show up with killing Trump in mind before they dial it down? Peter Doocy asked this of Cringe day before yesterday at the White House briefing, and she didn't answer. Actually, she dialed up the heat again and said that Trump is a threat to democracy because, what conclusion can you come to when Trump is shot once and then a gunman shows up a second time and the Democrats pay lip service to dialing down the rhetoric and then they dial up the rhetoric again? What conclusion can we come to? Kamala Harris is out there peddling the same incendiary, potentially deadly rhetoric once again.
Donald Trump and his extremist allies will keep trying to pull us backward. We all remember what they did to tear families apart. And now they have pledged to carry out the largest deportation, a mass deportation in American history. Imagine what that would look like and what that would be.
Now, the Democrats, they love gang members. They love fatal drug overdoses. They love rapes and murders of innocent mothers of 5. And I know this because the actions they take will lead very predictably to more of this. Just amazing. Hillary Clinton was on this morning on Morning Joke, and I was watching for you. And Hillary Clinton with the same rhetoric, the incendiary rhetoric, because they don't care how many Americans are getting killed. They have big, strong, armed men protecting them from the bad guys, and they drive around in armored vehicles. This is becoming like a third world country, a fascist country. Hillary Clinton this morning on Morning Joke with Mo and Jika.
To see what Trump is doing, which is implementing his policy with military troops in the street to, grab the woman who waits on you at the diner, pick up the guy who's, mowing the grass in the neighbor's yard, not because you have any information about them, but because of the way they look or maybe their first language. That is unimaginable, but that is what is being promised.
Right.
Now, she is a lion sack of Jawea and a dangerous, filthy, rotten, disgusting, despicable liar and a horrible person on top of it. Just ask her husband. And now it reminded me, and it's also disinformation and misinformation and a filthy lie. But you may recall that just a couple of days ago when she was taking a hot tub with Rachel Maddow, reaching around all under the water and everything, and she said that if people say things that are not true, then they should be locked up and thrown in prison. And then moments later, she comes out and says outrageous things that are obviously false. And Trump is going to have military troops and all this stuff. Hillary Clinton.
There are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda.
Like
and
you?
Whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence, because the Russians are unlikely, except in a very few cases, to ever stand trial in the United States.
Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles. She's our very own Eva Braun. It wouldn't be sad if she ended up in the bunker, would it? Just amazing. These people. She also lied about Trump and Project 2025 because she lies. And I've got more Hillary coming up because she's such a big fat liar. What an amazing liar. President Trump had a rally last night and was also on the Fox News channel with Greg Gutfeld. And I have President Trump coming up for you. And when do you hear these numbers on the Democrats, the bloodthirsty Democrats that think Trump should be shot and killed? According to a new poll, and it conforms with an old poll, and I have both polls for you. It's bipolar.
What difference does it make? What difference does it make?
What difference at this point does it make?
And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged.
That's right, for speech violations that Hillary Clinton, if it's misinformation or disinformation, and then she comes out moments later, says Trump is going to have U.S. troops in the street grabbing people out of restaurants. and arresting them because it's her own authoritarian instincts that she's projecting on everyone else. It's the Russian playbook, as Obama State Department official Victoria Nuland explained under oath on Capitol Hill. It's really the Soviet playbook where you accuse the other guy of doing what you're doing or what you plan on doing because it kind of blows up the debate before it begins. That's your Democrat Party. Speaking of your Democrat Party, rap mogul, Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Puffy Combs. He's in the who's go. He's in the can. And apparently, unsurprisingly, it's a truly awful prison that they've thrown him into. It's like a Devil's Island hellhole, and it's dangerous and filthy, and the electricity goes on and off. And if you think you're going to have heat in the wintertime, don't bet your bottom dollar on it. Rap mogul accused of abominable sex crimes. The front page of the Washington Times today, your newspaper of record in Washington, D.C. Charges include abuse, blackmail. Just kind of a normal Democrat Party thing. And this is the Democrat Party all over the place. It's Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein and Bill Clinton, and the list goes on. Democrats are all about sexual abuse. You see, there's a new Disney thing for the kids, and it's the gayest movie, and they're very proud. They're holding press conferences. The gayest kids movie ever out of Disney. And this is one of these comic book cartoon things. And they're very excited that they've got more kid stuff, stuff for the kids. These people have a lot of sexual issues, lots and lots of sexual issues. But the hip-hop star Sean Diddy Combs was ordered to be held in jail after pleading not guilty Tuesday to federal sex trafficking and prostitution charges, but he's not going anywhere. Rapper and music producer, is he a billionaire? America's a very generous, but I thought we were a terrible, horrible, racist country. I think it's just a Democrat problem.